In this lesson, I'm going to demonstrate how to add featured products to our e-commerce site. So before I, in fact, add or start adding these products, let's quickly take a look at where we stand as far as our site is concerned. So let's navigate to our local host here and refresh. Perfect. So we have our background, a couple of images, but let's change this background quickly before I add some featured products. In other words, I'm going to make some room and make sure our products are displayed nicely on the screen. So let's navigate to our code quickly here. And first I'm going to change the background. So I'm going to click on the main.css file, go up to my background image, and change the background. I can always navigate from the left pane here and click on images to expand. I've added several images, okay? And you can also add your own images if you like. All you have to do is just place these image files into the images folder within your tutorials folder, and it'll be displayed here. So I'm going to choose the background 1. So instead of background, just simply type 1, save it, go to your browser, reload, and it will change the background for you. So this background is much better than the previous one. Next, I'm going to quickly move the image of this laptop to the top right, or maybe change the image and use a different image. So let's go back to our code, and I'm going to change the image to here. So for instance, right now it says ecommerce.png. Maybe I want to use, let's say, which one? All right, let me go to my tutorials here, folder, images. This way I can see the images, right? So I'm going to use which image? Right here, square. Okay, so I like the square image. Go back to my code and just change the name to square.png. Save the file, reload, and it displays here. Of course, using my CSS, I can manipulate this image and move the image around on my screen. Let's do that. So here the position is absolute, width is 100, height is 190. Since my image height may not be 190 pixels, and I can verify that by going to my browser and taking a look at this image. As I hover over this image, it shows me that the dimensions of this PNG image is 290 by 300. So I need to keep that in mind. So here it's 190, so I'm going to change it to 300. And then background repeat is fine. Background size and the top, and then the margin top. So I need to change some settings here. First, I'm going to insert, or before I insert, I'm going to change the top here. So I'm going to keep it to 15%. And then the position, instead of left bottom, I'm going to say top right, because I want to move it to the right here. Let's save and reload and see what happens to our image. All right, great. So it moves to the top right, and there's a very little space between the nav bar and the image. So I want to move this image down and make sure it's sized correctly. So go to my code. All right, next, let me change the background size of this image to, I'm just going to use auto here. And then top, maybe a little bit more. And let's say 8%. And margin top, or maybe just leave it to 0 for now. And one thing I want to add here also is the margin left, because I want to make sure our image is aligned properly. And this is going to be minus 100 pixels. Save the main CSS file. I'm going to make sure we have our semicolon. Save one more time. Let's go to our browser, refresh, and nice image is now displayed. We can always move this image more based on your own requirements, okay? But for now, looks good so far. All right, great. So we quickly changed the image as well as the placement of our image 2. There's some text. What I'm going to do next is remove this text. I'm going to add some featured images, and we'll come back to this text here as well, okay? So let's go to our code. Let's go to index.php. And here's my text. So I'm going to get rid of it for now. We can always add it later. All right, great. All right, next let's start building our site further. Right after the div class, this is where we will create our code for our featured images. So in order to create featured images, first we must understand that since we're using Bootstrap, the viewport or the screen essentially is divided into 12 grid system, and that's what Bootstrap uses. And within these 12 columns, so to speak, it automatically adjusts based on the responsiveness. Okay. So I'm going to create using the 12-point grid system and predefined Bootstrap classes to create these columns. Okay. So let's start. So here's our div class. Or before I even do this, let me insert a comment here. Okay, it's always nice to know that we're using, let's say the main content goes here, products or featured products. All right, great. Next, let's do our div. So div class equals, and then my column class is column dash empty dash 8. Let me fix this 2 dashes here. Perfect. All right, next I'm going to do define the row here. So let's do a div class, and this is going to be a row. And then I'm going to do some h2 class equals text to be in the center. And then let's call it featured products. And this is my heading 2. And then do another div class for my column mid 3 div class, and I'm going to say col mid dash 3, and here I'm going to place another heading, and let's say heading 3, or I can use 4. I'm going to call it Levi's jeans. That's one of my products, so that's heading 4. So once I have my headings, I need to also ensure that I bring an image, right, for this product. So my image source is going to come from my images folder and my Levi's, and make sure it's JPG or PNG, right? So just to double check whether I have this image or not. And here it is. So here's my Levi's.jpg. Let's go back to our code. And here's my Levi's.jpg. I can also specify some alt text for this image. So if someone hovers over this image, they'll see it says Levi's jeans, and specify the ID equals images. And then close the tag here for my image source. Next, I'm just going to do a p class list price, for example. Specify the price of my product and call it list price. Text danger, got my spellings right here, and also write list price, right? And give it a space, and the price is going to be for my Levi's jeans. I'm going to sell it for, let's say, $24.99, and then close my paragraph tab. All right, great. So I have my paragraph closed here. I'm going to get rid of this so it doesn't duplicate this, and also make sure we do some corrections here. So it's column MD, so I'm going to make sure this also stays the same. It's column MD, and then get rid of this extra backslash here. And this list price that I've just listed, by the way, is the strike through. Okay, so we're going to create a list price, and then we're going to give and offer discount prices as well. So that's why the S tag is for the strike through. It's going to place a line across $24.99. So once I have my list price created, then we're going to create our actual price rather. So here our actual price is going to be our price, and I'm going to say our price colon is going to be, let's say, $19.99, and we're just giving a discount. And bring this up to close our paragraph. All right, next, obviously I need a button, right? So we need to place a button so users can click on the button to see the product, for instance. So we'll just use the button type, and our button type is going to be called button. Use a class here. We'll call it btn-success. and use my data toggle equals modal. Okay, and we create this modal so that every time when a user clicks on the button, a pop-up screen appears, right? So you can see the actual product details, the image, the list price, as well as the discount price. So we're going to create this modal here and give it a target. So my data target equals details dash 1, right? So I'm just going to say details dash 1 with a number sign and provide the name. It's called details. Make this smaller a little bit. And we have our first button created. And then my div closes here, for instance. So within this div class of column-md-3, we created our product called Levi's Jeans. We gave it an image, list price, the actual price, and then we created the button.